It started off with a kiss. How did it end up like this? Okay. Vaush hates Pete Buttigieg. How do you say Pete Buttigieg? Buttigieg. Better give me a Charlie Kirk reaction for today. How's it going, guys? How's it going? How's it going, guys? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Marry a conservative or your life will be miserable. Yeah, dude.
You're just...
Okay. Live. It started off with a kiss. How did it end up like this? Started off with a kiss. Why did it end up like this? Wow. How do I do this? Oh yeah, I have to do anyone. I changed this. I swear I changed the chat mode. I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't change. I literally changed it right away. But it just doesn't work sometimes. I just changed it again. Is it not switching to everyone can comment? I'm gonna have to reset this if it doesn't work, dude. Changes saves. Saved. This is not cool, bro. It's not letting me put this on subscriber only chat mode. So, customize. Hi. Okay, went to... Okay, anyone? Members only mode is off. Okay, it's working now. It's broken already.
Anyone disagreements? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Oh, man. Charlie Kirk. Cruel student does not want conservatives to be treated like humans.
Again, anyone in the crowd, you can work your way up if you disagree. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. I have two main points I want to talk about. So first off, I want to know your opinion on January 6th and the pardoning of... Okay.
No, that's a legitimate...
Okay, if she says, for example, if you say it's okay for Donald Trump to pardon cop beaters and enemies to America for political reasons, and if you do that, you're anti-American, and we should be charging you at the full extent of the law for treason, or not treason, but like, you know, sedition or whatever the laws are. If she says that, okay, it's not that unhinged. Okay.
Legitimate question.
Okay.
The pardoning's a legitimate question.
What's your opinion on that?
Everyone should be pardoned.
Okay, here is my thing.
Everyone should be pardoned.
My father is a police officer, so if you're saying that someone injures him or kills him in the line of duty, I should...
By the way, if you say every single January 6th rioter should be pardoned, including the people that poked cops' eyes out, made them lose fingers, used American flag poles. Imagine a guy with a swastika tattoo and a shirt that says Camp Auschwitz. Imagine them using an American flag pole to beat a law enforcement officer. And they also used that law enforcement officers, that Capitol Police officer's own riot shield against them, okay? And there's I think like over 200 cops injured, multiple cops died from traumatic brain injury, multiple cops died from suicide after that. Terrible events, okay? If you're going to say all of them should be pardoned, you are a disgusting piece of human filth. Like, to be frank. That says nothing about how you should treat all conservatives. But like Charlie Kirk is that. He lies all the time. He goes on college campuses and goes after weak people for a reason, who are not media trained for a reason, so he looks good when he's actually really stupid. But yeah, if you are going to say that's okay, you are a terrible person, and you should not be, you hate America.
Support pardoning them?
So actually, that's not my position. My position is very simple.
You just said your position is everyone should be pardoned.
Well, hold on. Allow me to finish. I said everyone should be pardoned, but not because of what they were accused of doing, because they were deprived of due process. And here's the kick.
That's not true at all. Every single time a conservative brings up a name or a Trumper brings up a name of someone that was denied due process on January 6th, you can look up their name and see they are full of crap, okay? They all had court dates. They all had trials. They had due process. But Kirk knows his fan base is either too dumb or too evil. They will lie and act like they don't know what the actual laws are. They don't know what due process is, so he can take advantage of them because they're pushovers or they're just like, they just don't know any better.
That the January 6 defendants were put in pretrial detention for nearly 2 years, many of whom were not given attorney representation. One attorney in particular made his defendant go watch videos saying that MAGA is brainwashing you and say, go unbrainwash yourself before the trial. A complete violation of the 5th, 6th, and 7th Amendment. What I'm getting at, though, is that if you have, would you agree with the premise that if the tree is rotten, the fruit will be rotten?
I don't even know what you're referring to.
It's a metaphor.
No,
The only outlet. Okay, so when Charlie Kirk talks about this, if there was a lesser trial, the defendants opted for bench trials instead of going through a DC jury. So, like, everything Charlie Kirk's talking about, the individuals in January 6th chose their route. Okay, if you look up the information for 5 seconds, Charlie Kirk thinks you're a pushover asshole who's not going to do any research at all. Okay, he thinks you are a piece of human garbage, and he thinks you are a lowlife that can be manipulated to believe anything. If you do any amount of research about the actual cases, you're going to see he's full of crap.
My turn. So I want to know. I want to know if you think that what they did, storming the Capitol, in your opinion, is that right or wrong? Yes or no?
Well, it depends.
Yes or no?
So there were only
yes or no.
Peacefully
yes
storming
no?
the cap. Hold on a second.
Please just yes
peacefully,
or no. That's yes or no.
Well,
do you agree
hold on a
that
second.
it's a good thing that they did or a bad thing?
Can I?
Yes or no?
Can I?
Honestly, though, really good her trying to force him to answer a real question. But of course, Charlie Kirk is a little baby, and he's a little scaredy pants, so he cannot answer a question directly.
Can
you can answer yes or no.
Well, yes, and I'm answering it. Yes, because not everybody did that. So, for example, Siak.
So not everybody did that. Okay, not everybody did that. Therefore, everyone should be pardoned because not everyone did that. So the guys who did do the violent acts against our country, against law enforcement, they should also be pardoned because you think some people were wrongly persecuted, okay, or prosecuted. With no evidence, by the way. Again, if they bring up any cases, they're full of crap.
Akamasakwa took 3 feet into the Capitol, said a prayer, and went out. Do you agree he should be hunted down by federal officials for 3 years and face 10 years in federal prison? Yes or no? Yes or no? Answer. Yes or no? Okay, so you say.
Okay, look how much of a... Charlie Kirk right there got extremely offended. Okay, so if you're going to be on a college campus, if she used that tone with him, she'd be called a woke SJW, overly offended feminist, feminazi who cannot hold her emotions in. Do you see the outburst that Charlie Kirk did there?
Say yes and face 10 years, said a prayer, and went out. Do you agree he should be hunted?
What name did he say?
Akamasakwa took 3 feet into the Capitol, said a prayer, and went out. Do you agree he should be hunted down by federal officials for 3 years and face 10 years in federal prison? Yes or no? Yes or no? Answer. Yes or no? Okay, so you say yes. Got it. So, but however, I think what happened on January 6th, there was a lot of stuff I don't support. However, they were treated so terribly by our own government as political prisoners. Here is the truth. Even if you go do something as evil as shoot school, you deserve 5th, 6th, and 7th Amendment protection rights. These January 6th defendants did not get their basic constitutional rights protected. They literally had to sleep on the ground of the DC jail.
You can do a quick Google search.
As January 6 gulags. You look at these pictures, they had to go sleep on like the floor with no food for days, acting as if that this was some sort of Moscow internment camp.
This guy also called the El Salvador torture camp a regular prison, a resort prison, where they get super fancy food and super fancy margaritas.
President Trump did was very simple. This was a statement towards the justice system. You guys did not treat these people, who some of which did very bad things, with basic constitutional due process rights. It was a pardon wiping the slate clean, saying even the person who does the grossest thing should be able to have the same rights of due process and the presumption of innocence of somebody who did absolutely nothing wrong.
It's like, okay, let's say you bring up one case. Let's say he was right, hypothetically. Let's say he was right about one of these cases. All right, let's say someone was completely peaceful. They got in a mess, and you know, a product of them being there and walking in with the group. Okay, they were arrested for breaching grounds, and they went to jail for some time. Even if you granted that one like hypothetical case where you say, okay, that's completely true. Let's say that actually happened. Let's say it's true. Okay, after that, why should these cop beaters By the way, multiple of these January 6 guys, they were known to be child abusers, and they went back to abuse children after. Multiple of them have gotten killed by police officers at stops, traffic stops, because they were violent criminals even before January 6. They went back out to do crime in their communities again. So Donald Trump literally made the decision by himself. It's not a failure of immigration policy. It's not like someone slipping through the cracks. Trump said, these are violent criminals. I'm going to purposely send them back into communities. You cannot justify that. And Charlie Kirk here is playing this really disgusting game. And the title here, Cruel Student Doesn't Want Conservatives to be Treated Like Humans. Do you know how disgusting it is? And just like stupid weenie Hut Jr. type shit that he's going to say, cruel student doesn't want conservatives to be treated like human. I don't like using the word gaslighting or all these dumbass words, but holy crap, Mr. Weenie Hut Jr. fungal growth. This guy is such a moldy spoon. Holy crap, dude.
That's the position of the pardons. Joe Biden may be
gone,
but his so-called Trump as in from medical. And what did Americans give of Biden's healthy medicines? In just the last 3 years, cancer live, the good urge cost.
A school.
That's not what deserve a
Pardoned if they do not get due. To me, I'm going to use your words.
or potential cures are lost.
So exactly what you just said to me, I'm going to use your words. If someone shuts up a school, they should be pardoned if they do not get due process.
No. I said if someone shuts up a school, they deserve a lawyer. And someone shoots.
But if they do not get one, they should be pardoned.
Hold on. That's not what I'm saying.
It's really funny too.
No,
They
if
don't
someone
get
should,
business.
It's really funny too because Charlie Kirk takes the position on the supposed MS-13 criminal, alien, terrorist, wife beater, child abuser, trafficker, gang members. He's okay with the government purely slandering them with literally no due process at all, not even checking IDs, not checking basic court orders, not checking even the bare minimum of information. You know, Kirk's okay with that. But for January 6, where the people did get due process, they opted to get different levels of trial. He's going to say they are in gulags and whatever else. You see how selective this is? Like everything bad you can say. She is killing him, by the way. She is killing him objectively on every standpoint. He looks like a whiny, pathetic Weenie Hut Jr., like I said before. And if he wants to act all salty spittoon, SpongeBob references. If he wants to act all cool, like he is the definition of a male Karen. It's so sad seeing him gripping the microphone this tight and seething, coping and seething so aggressively because he's okay with our police officers being beat up as long as it's for his God King, his daddy Trump. Like this is what happens when you elect like theocratic Christian nationalists to be in high positions of American political power.
Someone shuts up a school. They deserve to have a lawyer the same way as if someone runs a traffic light. This is a basic human right. And these January 6 defendants did not have their human rights respected by the Biden Department of Justice. That is what these pardons are all about. It's not about the merits of what they did or did not do. Many of which, by the way, is largely exaggerated because 1,000 people peacefully walked into the people's house.
And by the way, when Donald Trump did the pardons, he did not make, there were no arguments made about due process, okay? Because Trump does not know what due process even is. The only argument made from Trump was essentially the cops were the bad guys. They were not on my team. The January 6 guys were on my team. They were fighting for me. And that's why Trump is meeting with the January 6 leaders even now. Like Trump pardoned them because the cops, he hates them. He loves the rioters, okay? The people that beat up the cops, he loves them because they were on his side. Just like you see Qatar, like, for Qatar, they're giving Trump all this money. Trump has a golf resort there. Trump works with Saudi Arabia for golf tournaments. Trump is accepting this gift, this gift, huge plane for $400 million worth. Trying to pass that through. Qatar, like a country like that, has blood money from killing American soldiers. Okay, they put bounties on American troops' heads, working with terrorist groups. They finance the killing of American soldiers. And Trump's going to be like, oh, well, it's okay. It's okay with you killing American soldiers, Qatar, because you gave me money and luxury. And now I have a golf course with you. And now we have another hotel on your property. And now Saudi Arabia is having a live golf tournament on my properties. So, like, if you pay Donald Trump off, he's okay with denigrating Americans. And we've known it for a while. But really blind people still believe he's on their side. So
said prayers, took pictures, and walked out, and the FBI sent on them as if they're narco drug criminals.
I will take calls in a second. And by the way, people smearing feces on the walls in the Capitol, people having zip ties and other known plans. Okay, they knew about these plans. There's a reason sedition charges came up. There were known plans. We revealed them. Okay, if you look up the actual information, I know conservatives are allergic to looking up actual information for these types of things. Actually, sorry, not conservatives. You guys are not conservatives. You are theocratic and neo-fascist. Okay, you are national socialists. You are whatever. You're nationalists. You're not a conservative. Conservatives have principles. Conservatives are pretty good people. You are not that, if you agree with whatever Charlie Kirk is.
And cartel members. Many of them did absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, the police actually showed them around the interior of the Capitol.
Like, that was debunked multiple times. So, like, if you want to be a big boy and understand shit about the world, okay, then you would know when it comes to riot control, all right, you have these special individuals, protected, like, government members of the government in this one chamber, okay, in Congress. Then you have escape tunnels, essentially, where they're going to be escaping from. When the people get in the door, and Proud Boys were the first ones that broke the window and got in. Once they were already in, and the cops are outnumbered, like one cop to probably, 200? 1 to 200? A cop cannot just start shooting, okay? They cannot just start fighting people. Some cops had to try to fight for their lives, and it did not go well, obviously. You cannot control a crowd like that. One cop on that day got an award. The award he got is because when he pointed down the hallway, he misdirected the people that were storming the Capitol. He turned them to a different hall, to a different chamber, away from where the elected officials were. Okay, so when you do riot control, if you want to act like you're any type of human being with a functioning independent brain, with independent thought, all right, think for a second how riot control works when you're outnumbered 1 to 200. If you don't want to understand basic tactics in that kind of situation, don't comment on politics. Your brain is too weak and dopamine addled by social media posts that want to make you paranoid 24/7 to even interpret basic reality. It's just so pathetic that he can lie about this and people still follow him. I don't know what kind of lack of self-confidence, what kind of lack of discipline, what kind of lack of just self in general you need to have be such a pushover to have Charlie Kirk repeat these lies over and over and over and over and over again, being dominated by a random girl in a college. A random girl, she came ready. Okay, he cannot answer the question directly. He is coping hard.
Many of the police officers said, "Hey, would you like to go look in this part of the Capitol? Would you like to look in this part?"
I'll take calls in a second, guys. You can call in. I will take your call. Make sure you drop a like on the stream for the algorithm. Drop a like. Thank you for watching.
Part of the Capitol. By the way, how many police officers were actually killed on that day?
Is it peaceful to
Zero.
hurt a police officer? Is that what you're saying?
don't.
Okay, so when we talk about cops killed that day, okay, I think it was 5 or 6 total dead. Traumatic brain injuries are pretty bad, in my opinion. Having your eye poked out is pretty bad, in my opinion. Losing fingers is pretty bad, in my opinion. There's a lot of bad things that can happen to you that are not dying, all right? If you push a cop, you're going to jail, okay? In real life, if you push a cop, you're going to jail. There's a lot of bad things that can happen. If the standard is, did you kill them or not? You can do a lot of things to a human body before they die. But the traumatic injuries for, tens, 50, 100s, 200 officers, whatever the number was, is a pretty big deal in my opinion. It's a pretty big deal, especially when the intent was to stop the peaceful transfer of power for an election, okay? But regardless, you're not a conservative, you're not anything. You are a nationalist, you hate America, you want America to be your little authoritarian state, if you agree with this.
You're saying it's peaceful to hurt police officers
only a couple dozen out of the 1,800
that they will have for the rest of their life. That's peaceful.
36 individuals out of 1,800 criminal indictments actually laid hands on a police officer.
But they
that's not true. Okay, another point you can make here is ask him. I hope she'll ask him. I hope she says this. For the people that are proven to have done this, all right, let's say a guy grabbed the American flagpole, grabbed the lead pipe, grabbed the riot shield, beat the crap out of a cop, the cop lost an eyeball. All right, do you think that person should have been pardoned? We have all the proof, we have all the evidence. Should that person have been pardoned? Because Charlie Kirk needs to agree with everything Daddy Trump says. He needs to agree with everything Trump says. He needs to agree with everything. Because just like Mao, just like Stalin, just like Mussolini, just like Putin, whoever you want to talk about, all right, just like Pol Pot, like every single dictator you can think about, you need to agree with dear leader, okay? You cannot go away from it at all. So Charlie Kirk needs to abide by these positions that Donald Trump believes in. So you cannot, you have to expose Charlie here on that.
Pardoned is what you're saying.
Not because of what they did or they were accused of, because they were never given a fair hearing. Let me give an example. A young man who was part of the scuffle pushed back on somebody that he did not know was a police.
And again, here, it does not matter, all right? Because we're talking about people that did know there were police officers, and somehow he grabbed the riot shield of the cop, beat the crap out of the... You ever see the video of the cop being pushed against the pavement? Okay, 1 second.
Police officer. He was facing 15 years in federal prison and never had an opportunity to defend himself in federal court because his lawyer sucked and the judge hated him, and he was never given due process or the opportunity to look at the what is a very basic constitutional right. Look at all of the January 6th footage, which many of which is still under seal. So what the pardon is actually a pardon saying our justice system will never be perverted for political...
Yeah, so, like, Charlie Kirk sounds really good right now if you're super emotional, if you're a pushover, deadbeat loser. But, like... Okay, so these people should have a full pardon, all right? They should have a full pardon. Full pardon, right? Yep, they should have a full pardon. Yep, this is America. Oh, yeah, only 36 people, Charlie. Only 36 people were found assaulting officers? Only 36. I think 36 in this video alone. Probably more in this video alone. Bro, these are the people Charlie Kirk is saying should be pardoned, should not be held accountable at all. Based off of lies. All right? These are the people. These are cops. They grabbed the cops' riot shields and beat the cops with them. There's other videos where the cops are being pushed into the damn concrete. That's how many of them got traumatic brain injuries. You know, I mean, it's pathetic to even be an American and have Charlie Kirk be a prominent voice and need to show these clips to get any type of critical thought out of you, you chum bucket helmet wearing, like you're from the SpongeBob movie, the chum bucket, you Weenie Hut Jr. losers. Have no idea what America stands for. You don't care because you're pampered. You live in a modern era where everything is done for you. So you have time to be a dumb incel on the internet, pushing your theocratic Christian nationalist ideology that does not hold up in any basic principle of reality. So you need to be emotional and be a dumbass on college campuses. And even your leader gets dominated by a random girl on the campus. A random student walks up and Charlie Kirk needs to squirm out of every single question because he's so weak. Is this going to be your leader, guys? Is this going to be you? How pathetic. Okay. Please drop a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will open the phone lines if you want to talk. Okay. If you want to donate to Jolah Politics on PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App, really appreciate the donations, or on Coffee. Or become a channel member. I'll check super chats and stuff periodically as I take phone calls. It's a good time out here, brother. It's a good time. Okay, it's open now. If you want to call in to the number on the screen, see the number, you can call in there if you want. Thank you for watching. He gets his info from CNN. Yeah, as I'm showing you a direct video clip, but your brain is too stupid to interpret basic reality. It's actually painful talking to people like you. Wow, basic clips of reality are CNN now. Oh no. Oh no. Ooh. Oh no. No. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, man? This is John. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? You're alive, by the way.
Oh, I know. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. You know, saw your YouTube short, and I saw you kind of shitting on Charlie Kirk for a little bit. That I'd call in. I am conservative, and I just want to say that, you know, we all fucking hate him, dude. He doesn't represent anybody. I mean, I'm serious. You know, he doesn't really represent the conservative movement, and for you to attribute that, I think I give you best faith, and I would say that you don't sincerely mean that, or if you do, he doesn't represent the right.
Well, I mean, he represents Donald Trump. He's one of Trump's biggest organizers. I don't think Trump's conservative, by the way, but if the Conservative Party can be so easily overtaken by radical nationalists, like ultra far right authoritarians, then I think that's a problem with conservatism as well. I mean,
well, when you say, or are you talking about Kirk or Trump as the ultra-right authoritarian nationalist?
I would say that I don't think Trump cares that much. I don't think Trump is really all there mentally. In general, he's not very into government or how things work. But I think like Stephen Miller, 100%, and he's running the show. Stephen Miller's running all the policies. He's running Trump's Twitter account. So like Stephen Miller is 100% an authoritarian fascist. He wants to suspend the Constitution. He just said it yesterday. Charlie Kirk agrees with that as well. So I would say that the drivers behind the movement right now are all of these like theocratic nationalists. They're not really conservatives in my opinion. They don't like the Constitution.
What are you talking about? Well, okay, let's take a step back really quick before we get into the Stephen Miller thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The reason, okay, Trump is an indication of a movement in America. As much as AOC and Sanders are an indication of a movement in America, it's like he's a populist candidate because
Sure.
there's a problem in America, which is that from my perspective, the Democratic Party, which was supposedly claiming to be the party of the working class, the working people, abandoned it. He has completely abandoned them. You know, I mean, think about it. When's the last time that an issue that was a main issue held by the Democratic Party was passed through its constituents, through Congress, like a hot button issue? When's the last one?
So like through Congress, Trump gets nothing done at all. I could name probably 5 or 6 Biden policies that were probably generational that he got done, but people don't like Biden. And I don't really like Biden that much, but
I know the point I'm trying to make is it's like, look, from your perspective, I'd imagine it's a non sequitur about the Republican Party not representing the people, right? That's always kind of been its claim to fame post 70s. Is it say we're not really a representative of the working class people. We're representative of a concept of capitalism, of business, of corporate entity, of wealth, right? So it's the Democrat Party that was supposed to be the representative of the people, supposed to be the antithesis to that. And every hot button issue that the Democrats have purported to be the biggest arbiters of, they don't pass through Congress, do they? They pass.
Yeah, they do. Republicans get nothing done. Like if we talk about like bills that Biden got done, the infrastructure plan, Trump never got one done. Biden did. The Chips and Science Act, Inflation Reduction Act, the plan to get like Medicaid or Medicare drug costs down. Biden did a lot of bills, and Trump did not get one piece of major legislation passed. Like right now, he's not even trying. He's just doing executive orders because he cannot get consensus in Congress.
What about the Trump tax cuts?
That was through a budget in 2017, and the Trump tax cuts in 2017 are probably one of the most minuscule, like minor pieces of legislation in American history. It had almost no impact on the economy. It really just ran our deficit up again. Like there's no indicators that show it helped with growth or anything like that. If you look at the data.
That's not a reason. That's not the point I'm making. The first and foremost, what you're trying to say is, let's downplay these tax cuts.
My big point is George Bush got those tax cuts done. Trump did a George Bush tax cut, and that's his only success.
No, the TCJA wasn't done through Bush. It was done through Trump. It was Trump's initiative.
Bush did a similar tax cut, as did Reagan. All I'm saying is the only thing Trump did successfully is standard Republican policy. He did not do anything unique, other than tariffs, I'd probably say, other than what any Republican would do.
Well, I would have a respectful disagreement with the idea that tax cuts are meaningless. Maybe meaningless in the grand scheme of things from a budgetary perspective, but from an individual's perspective, when I see that my income tax has been cut by X%, that's a positive. Even if it's 3%.
I'm sorry. I'm happy with that, but the big, huge deficit drivers were the tax cuts for the top 1%, and Trump purposely weighted it so that anyone making under $1 million would get something back to be happy. But all the big deficit spending that we are paying for through inflation and through the deficit, Trump gave a lot of our money and debt to the top 1%. He could have just done I think even Biden was in favor of a tax plan that would raise taxes on the top 1% and lower taxes for the working and middle class. So I think we're all in agreement for tax cuts for the working class and middle class. But the big issue is going into deficit spending for the top 1%, because then our tax cuts are ruined, right? Because there's going to be more inflation, more money in the money supply, and also it's going to be more interest on our debt for almost no economic growth.
Not if there is a equitable amount of reduction in government spending to accompany the tax cut. Then it's a net positive, isn't it? Then we don't see hyperinflation because we're not creating a bigger deficit.
Well, it's not hyperinflation, but so Reagan said he was gonna do that. It did not work. The deficit tripled under Reagan. Bush said he was gonna do that. The deficit went crazy under Bush, and Trump said that as well. And our deficit went crazy under Trump before COVID. So the idea that we're gonna cut enough, and Doge this year so far, the whole Doge thing, we have spent $200 billion more than we spent last year. So our deficit this year might be close to $2 trillion. Doge has exploded the deficit. Like the Doge made it much worse. And I could explain why if you don't know that.
I mean, okay, yes, please explain to me how Doge made the deficit bigger, or is going to.
Yeah. So if you look at the total expenditures by our treasury this year, it's around 200 billion higher than it was last year, I believe, or it's expected to be because. So like Doge said they're gonna
really quick. Are we following fiscal year? Or are we following January?
I'm following up to this point last year. So by
well,
May of last year,
there was a different president, right? So the bell.
Yeah,
so,
but
so let's let the bell ring. Let's let the bell come to its logical fruition before we come to a conclusion that we've spent more money. Let's see what fiscal year 25 spending under Trump is compared to fiscal year 24 spending under Biden. That seems fair, right?
The point is, if we're going to say we're cutting programs now, but our spending is going through the roof, and Trump's budget wants to add more to the deficit to have a bigger military budget, he wants to give $60 billion more to DHS, he wants to give like $120 billion more to the military, and he wants to cut taxes for the top 1%. The numbers just don't work, and our economy's shrinking because of Trump's tariffs, so we're going to get less money back and revenue back for that purpose as well.
Okay. The economy is partially shrinking right now because of tariffs, which any classical conservative is in vehement disagreement with. And it appears that Trump is starting to reel back as much as humanly possible with those.
Well, he could just end all of them, though. It's not. I mean, he could just stop them today. It would be fine.
Yeah, I know, and I know you're probably going to cringe when you hear this, and I cringe at myself when I say it. But he's trying to make a deal, dude. That's so apparent.
He might be trying to do that, even if it makes no sense.
Well, okay, the argument from the left is, well, hey, these tariff deals, I mean, he's announcing them and they take time. It's like, okay, yeah, fine, they take time. He's trying to push the ball in the right direction. And I think that we're seeing some of the fruits of that labor with Britain. Looks like China had substantial talks this weekend with the trade deal. And so I don't think, and the fact that he's taking all of the tariffs and he's removing them from specific goods and services that would affect the average American, it appears that he's using it as a bargaining tool rather than an actual effectual tool to try and abolish income tax.
Okay, so just to finish on Doge really quick, we can go back to that then. But the Doge issue is they're cutting programs that give us return on investment. So medical research, national parks, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they're cutting agencies in the government that help us out a lot. They've had to spend money on legal battles, on rehiring people they did not mean to fire, on getting lost data because they've been hacked so much because they don't know what they're doing. So like right now, Doge, they started off saying they're going to cut $2 trillion, then $1 trillion, then $500 billion, then $100 billion. And we found out that they're going to spend probably $140 billion on all the costs associated with killing these departments because we actually got return on investment for a lot of these different agencies. So we're going to lose money due to that because they're just like cutting things with no rhyme or reason. They're stealing data from the treasury. They're getting hacked by foreign governments. So it's been a big cluster. There's been a big mess, and there's been no actual cuts.
Doge hasn't cut anything. This has to go through Congress before the actual cut is made. It's just a recommendation to the executive that's going to get passed on through Congress. Okay, so let's not count our chickens before they hatch. You're saying that the cost to get rid of these agencies is going to be more than the cost of servicing the agency? What time frame are you using to create that? Is it 1 year, 10 years, 20 years,
so like,
50 years?
If we're going to cut, like, for example, they want to cut cancer research, which they've already done this through the executive. They're diverting resources to different directions. So they're cutting cancer research by like 50%. And all the funding they're withholding from universities, for example, that Trump's using for like the political concessions, that funding did not go to pronoun class or whatever. It went to research. We paid universities to do really good medical research. That's one of the pinnacles of the American economy. They're killing that. So we're going to lose GDP growth. We're going to lose long-term return on investment in general. It does not matter what the time window is.
Wait. Are you talking about the funding that he pulled from Harvard and then threatened to pull from Columbia?
Yeah, like there's a reason they have that money, right? Because they're research universities too.
Okay, there's a reason he pulled that money though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he wanted to give like affirmative action to MAGA teachers.
No, that's not why. It's because the executive. Okay, it's because the Equal Protection Clause has to apply, right? When you receive funding, and the equal protect and the Due Process Clause in the Fifth Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause and the Due Process Clause in the 14th Amendment. And so when a state agent, private or public, is receiving federal funding, they have to comply with the law. And if Harvard doesn't comply with the law, then it's within not just his power, but the duty to pull the funding in violation of federal law.
So Trump is not following the law, because if you're going to do any type of regulation on that basis, it needs to be content neutral. You cannot say, for example, Harvard is Marxist and leftist and democratic, so we need to take away their funding and take away their tax exempt status. That's why Harvard is challenging this in court, because if you're going to attack it on the basis of politics, you're going to have issues.
The Harvard's response to the challenge is, I would say, very weak legally. The reason that Trump is pulling it is because of DEI hiring practices and DEI application in Harvard School in particular. Okay, and the argument for DEI, it's plainly unconstitutional. I don't understand how that's even a debate.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not unconstitutional. Affirmative action might be.
It is 100% unconstitutional. DEI.
No, because that's like a 1960s law. That's civil rights movement laws. You don't know what affirmative. You don't know what DEI is.
I do know what DEI is, and I'm telling you, I'm very versed in this. DEI is how the institutions are applying it. When you consider one of the protected classes that is defined either by the Civil Rights Act of '64 or by the Supreme Court, when you apply that, you have to apply it through strict scrutiny or intermediate scrutiny through the courts, or it's in violation of the Equal Protection Clause.
But see, Trump is not challenging things through courts. He's withholding funding. He's withholding it based on political reasons.
My God.
He said that explicitly.
Trump, that's because he has a plenary power, and Trump doesn't have to challenge it through the court to pull
regardless
the
of why
Harvard
Trump is throwing a hissy fit. Regardless of why, and they've been doing this for a while, but it's going to hurt the economy. It's going to hurt the U.S. economy. It's going to hurt America. It's going to hurt America regardless. I don't even care about this conversation, because I want to stay on one topic for a little bit.
Let's talk about this. If it hurts the economy, then it hurts the economy because you have to comply with federal law.
It's not federal law because why is it not happening across the board for every college and university that gets federal funding that does DEI? Why is it only happening for select campuses?
The DOJ and Trump have plenary power to go.
Why are they only going after Harvard and Columbia and no other campuses?
Are they only going after Harvard and Columbia?
They're going after a select few campuses. They can identify federal funding and say there's anti-Semitism on campus. That's one of the big claims they're making to withdraw the funding. They're claiming there's anti-Semitism, and they need to. And by the way, the letter Trump sent to Harvard included making sure there is a quota for MAGA-leaning professors on campus. So the quota system Trump is pushing as well is, again, not content neutral in any way. It's succinctly directly political. If you look at the actual letter they sent.
What does that have to do with whether or not these universities are violating the Equal Protection Clause? What does it have to do with that? Even if it is politically.
Okay, what is DEI? What do you think DEI is?
Okay, how the universities are utilizing DEI is through the hiring practices. They are considering what they call inclusion, i.e. diversity, i.e. race, to be a factor in hiring, which is blatantly unconstitutional. You cannot utilize race as a factor in hiring.
Okay, so DEI is not going to be, so like affirmative action would be a factor in hiring, but DEI is going to say that we're going to expand our hiring pool.
Affirmative action.
You have to shut up for a little bit because you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. What is DEI only race?
No.
Okay, then can you discriminate based on class for hiring?
It depends on the classes you're discriminating against. If it
for class income, for income, gender, for military, veteran status, for disability.
Okay, veteran status you cannot discriminate on. That's federal. Mm-hmm. Gender is state-based because there's nothing federal that says that. Gender is state-based. What was the other one you named? Income.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe income is federal under civil rights. That might be state, but I think you can discriminate based on income. There. So
I've worked with these actual offices that do this hiring, okay? And what it is looking for the absence of discrimination in hiring. Affirmative action and quotas are struck down by the Supreme Court for a reason, because that is based on race. Okay, that's their argument there. But for DEI, It meant expanding the hiring pool to all horizons, all groups, all demographics to make sure you're not leaving anything out. It's equal opportunity employment. That's what DEI is at a very open level. You cannot say, oh, this person has a disability, so therefore I'm not going to hire them. This person ends up being black, so I'm not going to hire them. This person ends up being gay, so I'm not going to hire them. That's what the DEI policy means on these campuses. If they go further on some campuses, they can identify that and say it's affirmative action. But when it comes to DEI, what you have described is not according to the federal law, or at least in the spirit of what it means.
Here. Because here's the irony in what you're doing. You're saying what DEI is doing is different from affirmative action. If affirmative action is something that's being done in DEI, then they can bring that to the courts, which is what they're doing. But the bigger irony is what DEI is the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So why did they rebrand the Civil Rights Act of 1964 as DEI? Why not just say they were upholding the law?
Because these are private institutions that came up with a way to describe how they're going to approach it on campuses and how they want to approach it through different departments.
That's a fucking lie. DEI has been used in state institutions as well.
I didn't say it was only
government hiring.
Where do you think this stuff starts? Usually.
What DEI?
Yeah, like concepts like that. Where do you think it starts?
I mean, I think that DEI really starts ultimately with a radical ideology, which is trying to push that we should try to make all forms of hiring for all jobs and all metrics to be equal based on X class.
Okay, here's the demands for Harvard. Okay, they had to prevent student political organizing. They had to ensure viewpoint diversity in hiring. So Trump wanted them to ensure viewpoint diversity, to have a quota for MAGA teachers, essentially. To implement political screenings for international students, and to shutter all DEI programs, offices, and initiatives. Okay.
When you really quick, let's bunker down on one thing. When you say that it's to create a MAGA quota, all right. What is the political breakdown of the elite institutions in this country, where the majority of the ruling class comes from? Today,
so like it's gonna be more liberal because liberals have more facts on their side. So it's gonna be more liberal, obviously.
Relative to where it was 30 years ago.
I mean, the conservative party in America is much more like extreme radical, like nationalist and conspiracy theorists. So it makes sense that most academics are going to be more liberal. They always were historically too.
I would argue the same thing about the left. Then I would say the left has been pretty radical with how they've applied the law in this country and how they've applied what they want to push through.
Okay, on campuses, on college campuses, if you study different pieces of literature and economic data, and if you study engineering and all that stuff, like Albert Einstein was a socialist. Okay, and usually academics and really intelligent people are going to be socialists, and that's one reason they don't communicate well, because they're too like preppy and condescending. But they are going to be more likely to be liberal if you're educated. It's just how it is.
That's not the question, dude. The question is, has Harvard become more liberal over time relative to
It doesn't matter.
what
It
was?
does not matter. That is not the basis on
And
which
that's
Harvard
it.
has tax exempt status, or if they get funding from the federal government. That is not the reason you could take. That's a political reason to take it away. It's not content neutral. You're talking about this campus is doing something ideologically that you don't like. So Harvard's freedom it's academic freedom. It's academic freedom and freedom in hiring. It's academic freedom and freedom in hiring practices. Okay, Trump was to infringe upon their right to do that. That's what they're suing Trump on.
Listen, then we'll see how it plays out in court, because it's from a legal perspective. If race has been considered with any of the implementations for the funding that Harvard is using, or in its hiring practices, and Harvard is going through the courts to do this.
If Harvard wants to use funds to focus on race issues in a specific way, for example, if they say, oh, this population was enslaved in American history, we're going to have a department focusing on that. That is completely within their academic freedom to do so.
It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if Harvard takes those funds and says, okay, we're going to use DEI to choose the legal assistants or the medical assistants or the scientists. And in that DEI inclusion concept, we're going to consider a protected class like race to be a considered factor in diversity, then they are breaking the Due Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment and the Due Process Clause of the 5th Amendment, and they should have their federal funding from the federal government pulled, because they need to prescribe to
race-based hiring is affirmative action, you dipshit. That's affirmative
dude,
action, which the Supreme Court struck down. But DEI does
fine,
not
then-
involve race-based hiring. You freaking weenie. You weenie.
my
You're an
God,
absolute
fine,
weenie. You don't
fine.
understand the shit
I'll
at
take
all.
it.
You just
No,
say shit you don't
I'll
know
take it
about.
back a step then.
Okay,
Fine,
I'll ask you,
I'll take it
why did the Supreme Court in their affirmative action ruling include only affirmative action to be unconstitutional and not DEI?
Do they even bring up DEI in the Harvard?
When they sent this case to the
UNC
Supreme
cases?
Court, if DEI includes affirmative action, why did they not include DEI if DEI is where the hiring practices are or the admissions processes are based on race? Why did they go for affirmative action specifically for the people that brought the case?
Because affirmative action was what it was colloquially called in the 90s when O'Connor gave her
Affirmative
opinion on
action
that.
is different from DEI. You moldy,
Oh my
you
fucking
moldy
God.
donut. You moldy waffle. You blue waffle.
Dude. Okay, listen, please, hear me out. God, you're so fucking arrogant. Fine.
I'm not arrogant. I called you a blue
Affirmative
waffle because you're saying shit you don't know about. I work in this field. I know about
if
this shit.
you-
You don't know about this at all. You're just
You're
you're
a
just
fucking
a dumbass.
lawyer, I'm a lawyer, you idiot.
Okay, if you're a
fucking
lawyer,
lawyer.
you can still be stupid because you don't know what DEI is.
Listen, if they're using DEI as a program in which you want to categorize affirmative action as the sole way of utilizing a protected class for choosing something for a job in which federal funding is received, then they're prima facie using DEI to backdoor in affirmative action. There, you fucking have
That claim wasn't okay.
Fulfilled.
That claim,
Fine.
okay,
Then-
is
then
not
there it is.
substantiated in any way.
That's what I'm saying. If the hiring practices are how you want to categorize it, affirmative action, and they're using the DEI fucking committees to backdoor in affirmative action, then it's unconstitutional. And
Do you
that's
think
the
that,
point that's being made.
Do you think it's good that the president will say, for example, Harvard, you have $2 billion to do research. I'm going to take it away if you don't hire professors for my ideology, if you don't do political screenings from the State Department for international students, and also if you don't kill all DEI offices with no investigation, by the way, not even just claims. Do you think it's good for the president to do that for our top research universities based off just like claims because they don't like that there's DEI officers or because they are politically against them?
Two things. First, the president wouldn't even have the authority to do an investigation like that. Okay? So I don't know what you want him to investigate these institutions like that? An open investigation?
If they were going to make
that's like
claims,
blatantly illegal.
okay, is it good to make baseless claims? On what basis is he making the claim then?
He's making the claim on the base of looking at Harvard's faculty and administrative state and saying there's not only a political skew, but there appears to be a race skew as well. Why were these
Weird.
people
So
chosen for this job?
Trump can have he could just have common sense and take away $2 billion in federal funding from our top cancer researcher in the world. That is insane. That's really cool. That's awesome.
No, it's
Just
not.
have
It's not really
accusations.
cool.
Just off
If you
accusations.
look
That's
at
really
the
cool.
no, it's not just off of Okay, listen. You want me to fucking sit here and defend Trump's actions for why he did that? It's like, dude, that's an unwinnable battle because the man's so goddamn unpredictable. But you and I are rational actors, and we're having this conversation. And I'm trying to tell you that there is a valid claim against the elite institutions that they are considering race in hiring practices. And
Okay, let's do the
you're
staff
calling it
breakdown from
affirmative
Harvard.
action?
Let's do Harvard's staff breakdown. What percent do you think is white?
I don't know.
60% is white.
Okay,
What percent do you think is Asian?
I don't know. Just fucking give it to me, dude. Are we
10%.
gonna go through every fucking race?
No, it's just that if you look at just demographics, there's no indication at all. And if you're a lawyer, you're a pretty shitty one. It's kind of sad you make an argument on this basis of like, oh, they can just look at the university and say, oh, I think there's too many blacks there. It's so pathetic that you would even bring that up as a point. Like, what are you even doing, bro? Like,
Dude, listen to me. I'm not saying if Harvard, in its DEI hiring practices, considers race as a factor, then they must de facto at some point have race be the factor in consideration if all candidates are equally viable for the job, right? So if that is a consideration, then it is unconstitutional. What is your response to that? If Harvard is doing that, do you think they should have federal funding if they are breaking the federal law? Yes or no?
if they were breaking a federal law, then I don't know what the actual
No.
procedure is for removing federal funding, or if there is some type of case to bring. I don't know what the legal procedure is there. But when it comes to this current thing that Trump is doing, based off just random accusation, this is not justified at all for this current situation.
We'll bring Trump right back in just after this question. If they are using race is it within the plenary power of the executive to remove that federal funding? Yes or no?
So like for that argument, I would say that it could be within their power, just like Obama with Title IX, for example. But like you would need to have some type of base. Well, actually, no, that's different. I don't have the legal background to talk about this. All I know about from a policy perspective is what I'm talking about from a policy perspective. What Trump is doing right now. Again, I could comment on Trump and the policies for the United States of America, trying to silence dissent by using the federal funds. It's going to be bad practice regardless. If it's legal, if it's not legal, I'm going to have the same position on that. And by the way, if it was proven that Harvard was breaking federal law, yeah, there'd be a different conversation. But there's no indication to even think that.
That right there goes back to my original point, which is that when's the last time the left has looked at the will of the fucking people and said, let's follow the will of the people? Because the illegal and legality of that comes from Congress, and under Article 2, Section 3, the president has to faithfully execute the laws passed by the people. So how could you possibly be against that?
I said based off of currently known information. I'm not against the will of the people. It's funny for an election denier to say that. Do you think the 2020 election was legitimate?
I'm not an election. I'm not. Yeah, I think
you better not be. You better not be. You can't be that, because then you have nothing else to stand on. So that's good.
All right. Well, here I am standing on that. So now.
Well,
it's your turn.
okay. The January 6th pardons are bad.
I mean, I don't know if they're. I mean, I don't agree with them necessarily. I think that honestly, the precedent set by Biden gives no fucking favors. That's for sure. I mean,
That's so
cringe. You can't. It's not cringe, man.
Do you think it's like do you understand why Biden did it?
Power and why did Biden pardon his son? Why?
All the people that he was going to pardon, all the people from the January 6th cops.
Why with the specific date? Why?
Because he knew what cases the Trump admin was going to try to bring to attack people politically. So he probably chose the date range that would make sense for that.
Okay, why would the Trump DOJ how about this one? Why didn't the Biden DOJ pursue those cases to the full-fledged capability that it should have?
What cases? I mean, Biden's DOJ investigated him. I don't know what I mean by those cases.
Yeah, I did. Biden's DOJ did investigate him, and what did they come back with? What did they say? We're not going to pursue this in the court of law because he's too much of a kind, elderly old man, and he'd look like a fucking goofball in front of a jury.
You mean for just the documents?
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm talking about for the pardons is that Trump is currently angry that he can't go after people politically because they have pardons. Like, he's mad about that.
Okay.
Like, that seems pretty bad. That kind of justifies it in my mind.
Yeah, you're right, man. I'm not a big believer in the pardon process. Truthfully, I think that it's been wielded pretty poorly by both parties. Would you agree with that?
I need someone else. Here's someone else. I'm tired. I need some fresh voices. Both sides are bad. 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 There's no degree as a lawyer in which we could tell different degrees, different nuances for severity. There's no way to even tell what severity is. There is bad and good, and both sides are bad. Therefore, Trump is good. That's the whole argument. Oh, what's that? Oh. I gotta take my contacts out, man. Please drop a like and subscribe for the algorithm. Thank you for any donations. I'm gonna look now, see if anyone donated. If you want to donate Jolah Politics on Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. Thank you for watching. I don't know. Hello.
Yo.
Howdy, what's up?
Is this the streamer?
Yep, it's the YouTube thing.
Okay. I just want to say I am no way supporting Trump. I would just like to state a few things to help back up your overall opinion with the debate, because I'm noticing you are kind of repeating some stuff, and I think it would be good to clarify, like, any future debaters. I think the DEI, I think what Trump is targeting is the people on the left. Like, when he says left, I mean like the people who are like if you go on like TikTok or something, you'll see like people who are pushing for like neo pronouns, the trans, yeah, people like that. I think what the left is really about, like I'd say like, you know, climate change and stuff. I don't see him talking about that. I don't see him talking about like lowering tax rates. Your opinions on that?
Yeah, conservatives don't have the ability to go. Not conservatives. Anyone that likes Trump, that actually likes Trump, does not have the ability to solve modern problems in any intelligent way. So they need to lash out and just scream things and be mad at social issues. So Republicans 100% run on emotions and social issues. So it's definitely true that Trump is targeting in general political opponents. And I mean, the people you brought up with neo-pronouns, I don't agree with neo-pronouns at all. I think that's like 12-year-olds out there talking about them. I hope it's 5, but regardless, you know, he's going after political opponents. So it's going to be everyone that opposes Trump that he's going to try to use mechanisms to go against.
Yeah, and I'm going to say I also don't agree with a lot of stuff that some politicians on the left do. Like if you look at Biden and the whole Hunter situation, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think he should have pardoned it, but also I don't believe Trump should have pardoned like a bunch of the January 6th rioters. So the fact that they're getting mad, like calling them out, it's kind of hypocrisy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is with that, you look at Biden and Hunter. They had Hunter in there for like a gun form that he filled out, which said he was not on any substances, and they used his like memoir to see he was on some type of drugs at the exact time that he signed it, and said he violated something with that. They got him on back taxes as well. And then Trump basically made it a mission to say he's going to go after political opponents, including Hunter Biden, saying that Biden's going to be in there his entire life essentially. He's not gonna have one day outside of a courtroom. So that's why Joe ended up pardoning Hunter. Once Trump made that clear, once he went after having Kash Patel, who has an enemies list for FBI, then Biden did that. Okay, so Trump threatened political persecution and actual lawfare to go after Hunter Biden. All right, so Biden made that decision. I disagree with it. I think the pardon power is abused, but that in levels of severity is so tiny compared to Trump pardoning cop beaters, because he thinks the cops are his enemies and the rioters are on his side, even to the point where he wants to give January 6 people reparations and some type of money from our tax dollars to worship them and honor their sacrifice, you know?
Yeah. And then one last thing before I hang up, because you probably have people who actually want to debate you. I see him talk a lot about like his opponents, like especially Kamala Harris. I don't think I've seen a single politician on the left advocate for open borders. Like I support like the defense of it. I think what I believe in is they should like make it easier, but no open borders. And I think the misconception is that the left want open borders, which is completely untrue.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans lie, and they say it over and over again. They don't care. Democrats do not lie about any Republican positions at all. I mean, nearly as much as Republicans lie the other way around. So it's like Republicans are going to say open borders, open borders, open borders, because Democrats make the mistake of following the laws of America, and Republicans don't care about asylum laws or about actual immigration laws. They just care about what makes them emotionally happy. That's why they're willing to throw away the Fifth Amendment if it means saying, "Oh, Kilmar Brigo Garcia is a wife beater." They don't really care that much about the Constitution. So it's really scary to be in that environment. But yeah, Democrats are, I think Obama was harsher on the border than Trump was, or at least first time around, like Trump's first term versus Obama's last term. I mean, Obama was super hard on the border and deportations and everything, and so was, Kamala campaigned on a border hawk message as well, but they don't believe it because Trump is barbaric and he does get very, very racist. about immigration, and Democrats do not show the same hate and vitriol to all immigrants. But you see how easily Republicans will say it's okay to put innocent people in El Salvador torture camps if they even just like look different and speak a different language and have a different accent from naturally born Americans. They're willing to throw them away like they're human trash, even if they were not even illegal immigrants, even if they came in the legal route. So yeah, it's hard to be in a political system where one side lies and tries to break everything, and one side like is really boring and pretty weak. Even if they try to keep government running, they don't aspire to much. So that's the two parties we have currently. And the party that doesn't aspire to much but still wants to run government is much better, obviously. But, you know, Democrats would probably be better if they had actual competition ideologically. So.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you actually get back to debating people on the opposite side. Great talking to you.
All right, thank you. Have a great night. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the call. Have a good one.
Problem.
One second. One moment. Let me check. See if I got any donations or anything. I don't think I did. I don't have any friends. Somebody save me. Me from myself. Oh crap. Thank you so much for $10. I just got that. Joe on Venmo. Thank you so much for $5. I mean, on Venmo, Joe. Thank you. And then Sri, another $5. Thank you so much for the donations on Venmo. Sri and Joe. Sri with a flame. Joe said, keep cooking these nerds. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you. Thank you. You have friends, just poor ones? LOL, haha. Let me see here. I'm going to take another call. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to start a new YouTube Shorts. I usually do halftime, so just reset the stream. I'm taking a 2-second break. I'm resetting the YouTube Shorts. I'll be right back on here. I'll start it in literally a minute. I just need to go grab a drink quick. I'm going to reset the stream. Okay. Got a fresh stream in here? Y'all's comments boosting the algorithm and paying Jolah. Thank you. Yes, keep on boosting the algorithm. If you want to hate wash, come right back. Okay, come right back in a second. Jolah, the soy boy feminist. Soy femboy. Thank you. I appreciate that compliment. All right, I'm starting the new YouTube Shorts right now. Okay. Take a break from not working. Yes, you're right. I agree. Why work hard when you just work never? You are not very good at this. I know that's true because you keep watching. Cash App. Why are you saying Cash App? What's going on here? Thank you so much for welcome back. Thank you so much, Port. I'll call you Port. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for $5. Thank you so much. I'll send you a heart emoji. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm starting the other YouTube Shorts. I'll see you there in a second. Thank you guys. Thank you. I'll probably stop at 2:30, but I'll take a call. If someone's calling in right now, call back. I'll take your call right now. Okay, phone lines are open. Go to the new YouTube Shorts. New YouTube Shorts. Nice. All right, new YouTube Shorts. Refresh my channel. Go there. Refresh my channel. Go to the new YouTube Shorts. Refresh it right now.